Welcome back to the Science and Shiny podcast, delivered to you by Fast Bowlers Limited. This Ashes special is brought to you by Dynetic, creators of the Paceflow app, and their link is in the description below. Phelps, Shiny and Jono are back to break down that dramatic two-day test and look ahead to Brisbane, following on from our first Ashes special. If you're enjoying these, give us a follow or share, it really does help. Let's get into it.
Hey lads, how we going? All good?
All good, mate. All good yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Come on then. What time did we get up first morning?
No, didn't make it up at 2 o'clock. I went for 5 o'clock. I was
I
up
thought
at
you were
5.
in the gym. I thought you'd be in the gym at 2:30. I thought that would be perfect for you.
No, it was the day off, so that was quite nice. But got up at 5. You know, that's a hell of a line for me. That 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Phelps, what
But no.
about you?
Yeah, my wife had an overnight install, so she came upstairs at 2:30. I looked at the phone, saw we'd lost 2 or 3 early, and then tried to go back to sleep, and then heard my brother-in-law creeping downstairs and thought, I can't miss out, so joined about 3:30, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
did 2 o'clock on the Sunday as well, so.
Oh wow. Yeah, I was about quarter to 5, I reckon, first morning, about 5 o'clock second. So I was right in the thick of it. Lots of wickets falling. Yeah, got on just at the right time, I'd say, or the wrong time, which way you look at it. And I was quietly watching it on my iPad in bed. It was perfect.
Nice.
There's something about it, though, isn't there, when you see lots of wickets fall, even though the time frame is quite exciting as a fast bowling fan, watching wickets fall quickly.
Yeah, fast-paced games are actually different sort of entertainment, aren't they? They're quite good actually to watch, the fast-paced ones.
It only lasted 2 days, but that's actually 2 of the most entertaining days I've had. And being able to get up early and watch it, it was brilliant. That time difference was so good. But also, to be honest, the quality of the bowling I thought was unbelievable. It was from both sides. It was off the chart. And I got to say, it's really exciting watching these guys bat as well.
Yeah, I mean it's a different from fast bowling point of view. We've been fast bowlers, and to watch matches that are, flat wickets and batters getting double hundreds. I mean that's not what we want to see. We want to see the ball darting around, flying through head high, keeper taking it above the head every ball. For me that's a great one.
Yeah, I think there was a comment, I remember we've got the 2019 World Cup famous commentary line about the barrister margins, but there was one in the 2005 Ashes that they talked about the game being a highlights package, in real time. And it felt a bit like that over the weekend in the first game. I think every time I had to get up and do a kid's breakfast, there seemed to be 3 wickets fall every time, and I went back into the room again. So it was like you almost didn't want to get off the sofa in case you missed something.
The funny thing is, short game, you actually wanted it to last a couple more days at the same rate. You wanted 40 wickets, not each rather than 20. So that would have been quite good.
Didn't they used to do that if it finished early? They'd put on a exhibetion game for the
Beer match, it was called.
The beer
Phelps,
match,
beer match.
yeah.
I think there might have been a few tourists that would have enjoyed having a day or a game on the third day to watch.
Do you think it did loads watching it?
I thought, you get those wickets sometimes that almost do too much, that you just can't nick them off because, your length is half a yard short and it's diving, ducking around all over the place. I actually thought it did enough, actually. It did enough to make you play the wrong line, if that makes sense, but still be able to get the edge. So a lot of our bowlers sort of just off it a little bit, and quite a lot of the time that will go into off stump, but quite a few of those balls were holding and either taking the edge or beating the edge. So I think it did do a bit, yeah, absolutely. But I think, as I said earlier, I think it did enough to get people out.
One thing it had was bounce, wasn't it? Great carry to the keeper.
Yeah. And I think we discussed that in the last podcast, didn't we? About from a bowling point of view, they're the best wickets to bowl on, the ones that carry. The ones that bounce through, as long as you get that perfect length on them, it works really well.
So Woody did that podcast with Brody, didn't he? And he said that the guys came back in sort of second innings and said that it was truer, more true than the first innings, where it was sort of almost tennis ball bounce a little bit. So the wicket, we only got 2 days into the game, but it sounds like the wicket was hardening up.
There was an interesting clip by Ricky Ponting, I think, that was going around that said it basically did the same as what the India game did, that it did all sorts to about tea on day 2, and then I think India went out and knocked off 170 for none at the end of play. And it was very similar. So yeah, it's an interesting how it evolved, but how they've managed to do it in back-to-back years that the Wickets had very similar like performance deviation or improvement, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and I think the way, obviously, we as an England team set up, we're always looking to attack that. So there's always a little bit more risk around the way we play. And a game in that sense on those wickets is going to be a little bit faster. So you're not getting to the time where the wicket really flattens out properly, unfortunately. But I mean, the way we bowled in that first innings, a little bit surprised. We won the toss and obviously batted to start with. But you're looking at that wicket, you would definitely want to be bowling on that early on. But we've got this thing where we like to chase, and that's the way they play their cricket. But I mean, when we did get the ball in hand that first innings, that's as good as England attack as I've seen probably ever. That was amazing to watch. Amazing to watch.
Yeah, I've got a question about the toss, which I think would be interesting to get your opinions of as a ex-head coach, fast bowler and fast bowling coaches. It seems, I think, that they batted because history says you bat first in Perth and you win. How much does that sort of stuff come into your decision at a toss versus looking at the pitch and deciding on what's going on above your head and on the floor?
It's a really good point, because you do get all your data and you'll get everyone, the analyst telling you, that you need to bowl first, bat first, either way. But I think using your eyes and experience of something, I think, is really important. And we've done that when I was at Middlesex. We did that a lot, where we'd look up, we'd look down, we'd start to get the data from the groundsman. Actually, you can get a Clegg test, which is the bounce. You can get the moisture content, and you start piecing together that if the figures say this is what the ball does generally. And it got quite accurate in the end. After a couple of years, you found the data was really good to work with. So I think it's a bit of both. But if you turned up to Perth knowing the bounce and seeing that amount of grass on, yeah, I would definitely be tempted to be bowling first. What about you, Shiny?
So yeah, it's an interesting one. I knew as a bowler, I always wanted to bowl first, and I'll tell you why. Is because I just thought if there's anything in the wicket, it's in that first session, and that was, bowling quite a few overs at Taunton, which was a good wicket.
This will make you laugh, Shiny, because as a bowler, I would have wanted to bat first, but as a head coach, I was always wanted to bowl first.
Yeah, you never wanted to bowl, though, mate. Remember that. Full stop. You never wanted to bowl. But it's ultimately every wicket you look at, there's something in it in the first session, isn't there? But I get the bit around, if your batters can soak it up and you can apply that pressure. And if you've got a spinner in your side, which only they had a spinner in their side. So it'd been interesting to see what they were going to do, actually, to be fair.
It was quite funny, Sonny, because you say that about always wanting to bowl first. I think a couple of years ago on the hottest day of the year, do you remember that day? It was absolutely rasping. Yeah, we won the toss and we bowled because we thought it might just be, something in the wicket. That's one day. The boys flying. It was like 40 degrees or something.
I know. We were playing at Derby. We won the toss and batted all day.
My boys were looking at me by the end of that day. They were like, "Oh my god, what have we done?" Anyway, it was...
But I mean, ultimately, we can get. Do you find sometimes you get all this information? Your Clegg meter. You look up, you look down, you look at the historical side of it. You look at, but you're actually out there, and sometimes you're just looking for a little bit of gut feel, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You're looking around your bowlers a little bit as well. It's, are they up for it? Do they feel this is a challenge they want to take on at times? Because it's not, the science will give you so much, but it's not all about that, is it? The gut feel of sometimes the opposition you're playing, they might have been bowled out a couple of times recently. You just want to get stuck into them again and not give them an opportunity.
I've got to be honest with you, mate. When I go out there and you see people down there and they're rubbing their hands all over the grass and they're tapping on it, and you actually gave me the best tip. Yeah, which is the old nail test.
Yeah.
If you can, just off to the side of the wicket, can you just get if you can bring a little bit of moisture up when it might look absolutely bone dry? That's actually probably the most tried and tested one I've done. When people sort of feel it and it's always cold, I'm thinking, cold.
Yeah.
It's not cold.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the moisture content underneath gives you a reading, but it's the surface, isn't it? So I always thought if your nail goes into the top surface easily, then the seam's gonna
Seam
bite,
grip, won't it?
and it's gonna bite. And if it's rock hard and it doesn't even make an impression in it,
Just bring
even though it's
dust
a bit of grass, even if there's grass on it, if it's rock hard, it generally doesn't seam around. It will just carry nicely.
Yeah, I think one thing with the Aussie wickets though, and you probably see it more in Brisbane. I remember that. I mean, that was a long time ago, 2005, 6, 7. But the cracks at the end of it were unbelievable. And you do get more cracks.
Yeah, dries. Yeah,
in Aussie.
Dries
and they actually open. You do see them open. So I don't know whether that one would have had cracks. I think Perth in the past, Wacker
was it long enough to get cracks in?
Well, no, it wasn't, was it?
I think Ricky said when he did the pitch review about it, he said that they'd opened up on the second day. So maybe that came into the decision as well. It's a difficult one. I think it is almost that classical, you'd rather not win the toss. So I think Smith said he'd bat first as well. But
really?
Okay.
Yeah, but it's difficult because I think it's kind of almost a perfect combination of things to confuse you, isn't it? It's like a new ground, there's only been one test match, it did a lot, then it flattened out, versus you don't want to bat fourth in Perth. So I
always believe sometimes you can look too far ahead in the game. Like you've got to take the here and now a lot of the time. It's all very well saying, well, fourth day, fifth day, it might do this, but you've got to get to that point.
Do you think, how important are those small passages of play that kind of swing it back and forward within a game? So we've talked a little bit about already how it was really enthralling, but there were quite a lot of back to and fro and counter punches and punches. And I think focusing on the passage of play where England lost those 3 quick wickets of Root, Brooke, Pope, do you think Australia went out after tea as a bowling group and tried to defend with a policy of wait for you to make the mistake and bowl outside 4th, 5th, 6th stump on a length and go, right, if you want to go take your policy, go ahead, and sit in? And we talk a lot about short ball policies as a almost attacking defensive policy at times, but do you think?
I think you could see from their tactics they were hanging it out there, weren't they? But they bowled a great length. So if you're hanging it out there, you bowl a great length. I couldn't quite see the field. They looked like they had a sweeper out, didn't they, for a lot of it, or definitely some of it. You saw even at some points it was like a hybrid third man stroke sweeper. But Stark, for example, I always think of Stark as a bloke that comes in and swings it. It looked like he was wobbling more than anything in that game. Every super slow-mo I saw with him taking a wicket, he was a wobble seam going across, wasn't he? And bowled a great length at pretty much 90 miles an hour.
Have you seen I think he's done an interview where he's talked about the fact he's tried to learn the wobble off of Hazelwood and Cummins, and basically said if he'd have done it earlier in his career, he'd have 100 more Test match wickets. So.
Yeah, we've talked about that, the wobble versus swing, and I think the ultimate. So we talk about the ultimate skill being swing. The fact that you've got the ability to use both, because they all know that you can swing it back in as long as you can look after the ball enough to still swing it. Because generally, if you go and wobble, you're going to be taking out the shiny side or the leading edges. That's the most important thing for swing. Sure, we'll cover that in a future podcast. But if it's so if his danger ball is coming back in and hitting you on the pads, and that's there, you're going to play it more, aren't you? That's a simple way of looking at it. And people know that he's got the ability to swing it back in. And left arm is generally.
And he showed that. He showed that a couple of times as well. It's important to show that you've got that in your armour as well. As much as people know he's got it, to actually get it down there a couple of times, it then does draw you across.
So it's probably not the wobble seam that would have given him hundreds more wickets. It's the ability to do both and put doubt in a batsman's mind. That's when you're a swing bowler, and Johnny, you were a fantastic swing bowler. It's the ability to put doubt in the batter's mind, isn't it? Get them to play it more. If your gun-in swinger goes right, they don't play it and they get hit in front or bowl. But it is that ability to put doubt in the batter's mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose we didn't have that wobble seam. If it came out as a wobble, it's probably because you got your wrist wrong. It wasn't an actual, forced point.
Just so good enough to swing it.
Yeah, that's right. So we probably had more of an in-swing now, or a ball that didn't swing, rather than an actual wobble seam. I think we talked last time about Caddy going up with that funny sort of claw grip, and that was his sort of way to get the ball going back in, which is similar to a wobble seam.
It was his off cutter, wasn't it? It's fast off
cutter, mate. Off cutter. It was the Australian night.
Yeah, it was the Aussie.
But yeah, he was magnificent at that. But yeah, we probably had a bit more of an in swinger than a wobble seam. But you see the way Jimmy Anderson bowled for many years. You know, he would be the best swing bowler around, but he used the wobble seam a lot, and it was more about assessing the conditions. So that Perth wicket with the bounce, with a little bit of nip, perfect for wobble seam. You know, you wouldn't want to swing it on there necessarily. I always think swing now is more when the wicket's not seaming so much. It's a little bit flattered, but you can get some good shape on the ball. That's your biggest weapon. So yeah, no, it was all round. It was brilliant to watch fast bowlers. I think both sides watching Stark. I mean, that was we said last week. You know, this is our best chance. No Cummins, no Hazelwood, no 600 test bowls, and then Stark rocks up and gets 11 for in a game or whatever it was. You're like,
Cool. I was slightly worried by him for the Brisbane test and the day-nighter, and but I think whilst we're on it, like, it's probably the biggest negative for me as an England fan was how well Stark bowled. But actually, as a fast bowling fan, I still find it incredible that he still gets himself in the place fitness-wise and technique-wise to perform at World Cups and Ashes series as regularly as he does.
Well, the thing is, Phelps, we know he's 35. Is he 35 now?
Yeah, he's mid-30s. Yeah, I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Yeah, we know now, don't we? He's got all that beautiful chronic workload behind him. So chronic workload basically being he has bowled so many overs in his career. You know, he's had his injuries. He's sort of come out of the other side of that now. He obviously knows how to look after himself. So he's worked out what training works for me, what doesn't, you know, my rest, all that sort of stuff. He gets that balance absolutely right. He also looks like he keeps himself in great nick, which, you know, that look at Jimmy at 41, 42. You know, you've almost literally hardened up your shell to be able to, as long as you keep training and doing it right, to just use all that beautiful experience you've got behind you as well.
I'm still waiting for my chronic workload to kick in, mate.
You never got it. You never got it, big fella. Start, stop. Operation, injection.
Yeah, I look at Stark's technique and I think it reminds me a bit of Woody. I think he generates a lot of his pace from like the positions he manages to get into with his range of motion and how he gets out of them with extreme power. And sometimes I see in series that he doesn't quite have it all glued together technically, but it seems to be every time you watch him in a World Cup that he gets his front leg straight, everything's working. It
just looked easy, didn't it? Like when we talk about fast bowlers and it coming out at good pace, I mean, it wasn't searing pace, but it was good pace. It just looked easy, didn't it? There was that, you know, Shiny, you talk about that flow. He had that, like, absolutely. It just looked so cruisy, so easy, and the ball's flying out still at really good pace.
So I saw some stats on him. He was consistently around the 145. You know, actually the England seamers as a group collectively on day one were 141, which is 87 and a half miles an hour. And we obviously saw Woody over 150. Jofra started to clock up there, didn't he? You know, so paces from all the bowlers were excellent, weren't they? Considering where they're probably their top ends or their averages. You know, an average is the one, isn't it? Because that's your ability to hold it.
Yeah.
And that will be interesting through the series to see how that goes, especially on the different wickets. You know, at Perth, Johnny, you know, you get on a wicket that you're expected to do well on. You've got to keep going, haven't you? You can't just sort of sit on in there.
You have, but also the funny thing is when you bowl on a wicket like that flies through and you see that ball bounce through head height to the keeper off a leg, it's amazing how you get your pace up there. You know, if you saw that bounce twice to the keeper, it's amazing how quickly your pace falls off.
Your bottom lip comes out. So what's the point?
Yeah, be looking around at you and his head coach go, "What have you done?
What's the groundsman doing? This is useless."
Yeah, but it is amazing when you see that bounce. All of a sudden, everything heightens, and you know your pace is up there, and it flies through, and it's just it's more natural to be able to hold it and
gets
keep
your
it
beans going, doesn't it?
Absolutely, 100%.
And actually, with this group of bowlers, everyone's like at the top of their tree, aren't they? So when you come on, you've got to go. I got to work hard here to look as good as these blokes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are a competitive bunch, remember?
Yeah.
So, what positives do you think England will take out of the game?
I definitely. Well, the obvious positive is how the fast bowlers bowled. they did bowl unbelievably well. They haven't bowled many overs. So I was looking down the match numbers. You got Archer 17, Atkinson 21, Woody 11, 16. Remember that they were overs at the top speed you can do, and we know how hard that is to do, and it would have been a hard pitch.
Yeah. Do you remember we said last in the preview about about the rotation stuff? You don't know. You can't pre-plan rotation because you don't know how long Test matches are going to last, how many overs are going to bowl, and this is a perfect example of. Well, why can't they go again? I mean, they've got a massive rest. They're going to go again, right? It's good in that respect.
Let's cover that then, Johnny. Would you pick the same bowling side?
I think so. Yeah, I don't see any reason to change it. I think they were unbelievable first innings, a little bit off it, maybe in the second innings, for whatever reason. And I think they've got overs in their legs now. They've got a little bit of time out in the middle, not too much, but it's a little bit of time. So all that, we call it, it's in the bank, isn't it? You've got that loading in the bank now, so you can go again, and hopefully they're trained well over this period of time, and they go again. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. Any other positives you saw, Jono?
That they know they can bowl the Aussies out. That's always a good thing as a bowling unit when you're running in. Yeah. You've got them. Head played a brilliant innings, second innings, and that's something the boys will have to look at. If he comes out and does that again, what can they do differently next time? That'll be part of the review. That'll be part of the sit down. But as a whole, they've got the best players out cheaply, and they know they can do it, and that's always good to have in the back.
Here's a question for you. You alluded to this earlier, actually, Felt. Jono, what's the difference from a bowling side between having a target of 200 or 300? Doesn't sound massively different, but what does that mean to you?
It just allows you to have a partnership. I mean, I've been on both sides, as you have. As a bowler, you go out in the middle, you think, well, 300, okay, and they get off to a bit of a start, 70 for one or two, or, naught, and you go, okay, we just need one here, and there's still enough runs to go through the team. And you sit there as a coach, on the sideline, the same. You're a bit calmer about a partnership because you go, okay, it's okay. If we just break this open, we're back in the game. But when it's only 200 and you put 70 on, 80 on, or whatever, you're sort of out the game pretty much at that point. So it puts more pressure on you as a bowler to hit your straps early, take wickets early, and you'll be talking, right, let's try and get wickets early. Let's really put them under pressure, get the ball in the right place. And that's all your game plan. That's what you're tuned in. Then suddenly it doesn't work, and there's that little bit of tail off and a bit of deflation because the game's running away from you.
And how does that change your thinking tactically as a bowler and a side? For that,
I think you go searching, don't you? You go searching for that wicket. You don't just hit your areas. And I think against Head, for example, you need to get him out. So where did they go? They went to the short ball. It's like, whereas when you've got longer, you might hold your line and length a little bit more. Defend a bit more with your field, but attack with the ball. But then you start clutching. Got to get him out. And then that's the worst sort of mindset in a way.
It's a massive thing though, isn't it? Because chases, history suggests that successful chases are really tough when it gets over 300. Yeah. Even 200, especially in test matches, that's a good nudge, isn't it, to get there? Yeah. What would normally be on a fourth day.
You need them early, don't you? You need a couple early to really put a cat amongst the pigeons, make the change room feel under pressure. Every time they come out, they know they're under pressure. They have to survive. They have to be there for a period of time. And that changes the way you play as a batter.
Yeah.
I thought it was a stroke of genius to send Khawaja out, to be honest. I think as soon as I saw him padded up, I was like, head, sorry, yeah. I thought, if they get to 50 quickly, it's suddenly a completely different game.
Has that been talked about? Was that because Khawaja wasn't feeling 100%, or was it because they wanted to put us on the back foot?
He wasn't available to back, he wasn't on the field. And the story goes that Smith didn't want what happened in the first innings with Marnus opening. He wanted Marnus and Smith to be 3 and 4 to keep them solid. And apparently there was talk about it being either Nathan Lyon or Travis Head. And I think Travis Head and his personality just stood up and went, "I don't have a go." But yeah, when you saw
so what do they do? What do they do in the next test then? Does it work?
I think have they found a solution to their problem, assuming that Head is happy to move to open? Because I think the best openers in the world at the moment are probably Duckett, with the way he goes about it.
Yeah.
Travis Head, for me, is a very similar player.
Sure.
He's very good against a short ball, and he can put the full ball away as well. So, yeah.
I think it's really interesting. I think it's really interesting with Head about the short ball, because you say he's really good. I'd love to know the stats, the data behind the short ball, because I know as a bowler, when you're running against him, you always think he doesn't like it, because the way he plays it, he doesn't always play it very well. And you feel like you're in the game when you bowl short at him, but you get it slightly wrong, and it's 4 or 6 every time. So you're sort of weighing up, do I go for it because I know he can look a little bit uncomfortable, but then he'll give himself some room, or get inside it, and suddenly you've gone for 15 in an over. So it's it's a really difficult one with that. I'd love to know the data around that.
Yeah, I think his use of the crease, though, means the ball, you've set a field for what you traditionally get wickets with short ball bowling, and he finds a way of moving around the crease to get it 10 yards to the side of him. And,
absolutely.
And then they use.
I know as a bowler, you probably want to bowl short at him because you see the way he sort of plays it.
Yeah, I saw
but big pitches as well, isn't it? Big playing areas. So let's face it. A lot of times in the UK, the short ball ploy is a really good one because the pitches are smaller. Not such a big playing area, so there's sort of less gaps. It's a little bit more. The game can go really quiet, can't it? You can literally slow the game down. You're deciding whether the batter's going to take it on or not. So while he's not taking it on, you're not going for any runs. You bring in your shorter men to try and for a fend. If he's going for it, there's you've got less gaps for him to hit. With Head hitting it in weird places, wasn't he? Where it would still go in the air, but you thought there's no one actually near that because they're trying to cover so much ground.
Yeah, the really interesting thing I saw was one of the tech things with the beehive, and it was almost like, I think his strike rate against anything top of the stumps was 0, and anything outside it was about 200. So there was still some method in that madness of what he was trying to
remember. Who got caught at third man? Is it first innings, wasn't it? Someone actually, I think that was him, wasn't it? Tried to do a bit of a ramp and
I think it was,
and he sort of went away from that, didn't he? And started to sort of just just play horrible shots everywhere. However you look at it, it was an unbelievable innings. It was.
Yeah, I think moving on, by focusing back to the bowling group, how quickly, because I think when you watch it and you're a fan, and every ball's going the distance, or it looks like you're bowling really badly. Like, how bad do you think England actually bowled, or do you think it's just the way he played unbelievably well and he took all your options away from the bowling group? And with the runs on the board, it's really difficult.
Yeah, they just kept going. They backed themselves to keep going, didn't they, Jono? That's what it looked like.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I think it's probably a bit of both. I think he put them under so much pressure and created his own width and his own bad balls in a way. So, and I think that's the whole, we call it Bazball, but it's their sort of policy really about putting the bowler back under pressure by creating something. But if you look at his innings, he got himself in to start with, didn't he? He didn't go mad from ball one. He wasn't playing big drives. He got himself in a little bit first. I gave him a bit of time, and then he went hard.
And that's the difficult part then, Jono, isn't it? The bowler's coming on after that. Yeah, from ball one, he's after you.
Yeah.
Just puts you under a tiny bit more pressure, knowing that you've got that that small total to chase.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think he decided I was just going to go for those guys from ball one.
What do you reckon, Shiny, about the paces? Because wasn't there something about the average pace in the first innings for England bowlers, the average pace in the second innings for England bowlers?
Yeah, there was. So I've been actually trying to find, if there's anything, that we could see that showed us all the paces. I couldn't find that, unfortunately. But people were saying that they were down. I still look like they were bowling quite quick to me, to be honest. But it was a different passage of play.
Felt to be bowling quite quick for you, mate. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Not anymore.
That is true. It was a different passage of play, as we've said there. They're going for it. It doesn't matter how fast you're bowling. Actually, sometimes the faster you're bowling, the more difficult it is to defend. It was just, from a bowling perspective, I think that I was so impressed with how those guys actually, the first innings was unbelievable, but that's your game of chess, isn't it? You're trying to get into a position to then win the game in the second innings. And actually what Australia did is they, with their batting order and their intent, they decided, we're not just going to just dab at this, because with that bowling attack, we let them bowl at us. there's a ball with our name on it, and you've got to say that the risk they took paid off.
Yeah. And also, first things, you get early wickets and your adrenaline's fly. First innings of a Ashes series, you're picking up wickets. Everything's like, all builds and builds, and the adrenaline goes. The next bloke comes
momentum,
on.
mate, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the
Does it
next bloke
exist or
comes
not
on and
exist?
continues it. Yeah.
That was an
Well,
interesting
second innings,
debate.
you're suddenly getting under the pump a little bit, and it's a little bit, then you go the other way, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting observation, Shai, because like when we were watching it, we're talking about if you face 30 balls on that wicket, you seem to find a method and approach to be able to score runs. But then there was almost like everybody found a way of getting out after they'd got in at some point as well. So just following up on those speeds, Shiny, and Jono, having been in a situation where Shiny used to send you out the door quite often, how hard is it to bowl back-to-back days? But also, I think this test match, they had to bowl in 2 different innings on the same day. So how, in terms of just as bowlers, as prep, how difficult is it to keep stopping and starting rather than, we talked about the overs being low or lower than a normal test match, but you still got those breaks in between where your body cools down and has to get back up or warm back up again.
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it, Jono? Once again, I did keep sending you out. It's also a mental thing, isn't it? People think it's just the physical side that you need to rest. You need to rest mentally as well. So once again, those guys in the first innings, when we look at their first innings stats, that they have, even though they haven't got masses of overs, remember they're really explosive bowlers. Really, they're not the sort of bowlers just sort of. I mean, the closest bowler to sort of just sitting in and bowling his O's is Atkinson. Remember, he's still bowling at 80, 87 mile an hour, 88. The bloke is a seriously fast bowler.
I thought he bowled unbelievably in that first dig as well.
Yeah, but every single one of those guys is busting a gut. So those overs that they've bowled, there's a huge cost to them, and you do need to get off and find, hopefully get that day, maybe a bit more than that, where you rest not just your body but your mind as well. And you'd imagine in the first test match that is absolutely going bananas. That was very taxing.
Yeah, I think the adrenaline rush that you would have got that first innings bowling, and then walking off after doing an amazing job and bowling out Australia for a lead and everything. You walk off going, wow, that was amazing. We've done our job. What a great effort.
Yeah.
Right now, and in your head, you're thinking, right now, give me a day and I'll go again. And then all of a sudden, it's not a day, and you've got to go again. And it's like, oh, okay, right, I've got to go again. But the rush of the adrenaline high and then the low and then the bit in between it's bloody hard. It's definitely hard. But as I say, if they got a couple of early ones, I reckon you'd have seen it rise again and off they go again.
I just was watching, I think the second innings you watched it and it was the level of intensity they brought in the first innings. I think they struggled to reproduce. And I think that's just because of the situation. I don't think it's because of what they were trying to do, etc.
If you'd looked at their action spells, if you'd slowed down their, you wouldn't have seen anything different. It wasn't anything to do with that, was it? Do you know what I mean? It's more.
But then there's been some analysis of Woody's action from Broady about overstriding, etc. And almost, do you get into a situation when you're so desperate for wickets about trying too hard and things like that, and then that reflects on performances as well. So
over keenness.
Yeah, I think it's natural, isn't it? We all, especially when you're in that sort of situation, you like with head going mad and you're trying to find a breakthrough.
Well, it's a good point there, Phelps. Because Woody, I've said this before. Woody's a really skillful bowler, super skillful bowler. It looks like his role in that side is to just come on and bowl as fast as he can for short spells. From afar, and obviously knowing that he has those skills, I'm pretty sure that he could come on and he can wobble it, he can swing it, he can be quite with the ability to actually properly keep you on the back foot. He's got that ability to bowl longer spells if he's actually thinking more about his craft. And you see Woody when he is absolutely sprinting in and trying to get to the top end of his speed, his 95, 96, 97 miles an hour. Oh, Jono, imagine the cost to your body there and your accuracy and your skill.
Yeah. I mean, we always talk about operating just below top over a long period of time. It just gives you that extra little bit of control, that extra little bit of skill. And it's not a conscious, I'm going to run in and not be 100% today, but you sort of learn the skill over a long period of time.
Yeah.
On this wicket that's doing a little bit, I can operate at 90% here, and that's quick enough because I'm going to be bowling for Woody, that'd still be bowling at nearly 90 miles an hour.
Or probably
like we
still
talked about
90.
Stark.
Yeah.
And we talked about Stark doing probably a very similar thing where you can run up, you can hit your areas that little bit more accurately, you can get your little bit of shape, you can get your wobble in, you're putting the batter under a bit more pressure. It's almost like you want that 95 mile an hour pace on a wicket that's flat. It's not doing anything, and you need to create something out of nothing.
So the way I try to work with my bowlers is I don't want them to have it. Everybody looks at the headline top end speed, that one ball, but for me the average is more important. And where I'll train top end, the only reason we train top end is to try and lift their average speed. So you almost build in, that, remember the bandwidth? You're building that bandwidth where as your average speed goes up, your body's able to cope with it better. And ultimately that's you being more efficient. So technically you're much more in your groove. And your groove is your bandwidth. On those days when it feels absolutely amazing, and you'll have had it, Jono, those days when your rhythm is just beautiful and someone comes off and says, what did it feel like? And you just say, yeah, great. You don't try, do you? You are literally floating.
Yeah. It's a bit like the day you rang me up after a one-day game, Shiny, and I'd seen your figures of 0 for 70 off 8 overs, and you rang me up and I was a little bit like, are you okay? You okay, mate? You went, yeah. Oh my God, I bowled so quick today. My God, it absolutely flew through it. I was like,
but it went out of the park and I didn't play again.
You mean like that, yeah? The rhythm all here, it was like came together nicely. Yeah.
But by the way, that was in a 4-day game as well.
So one for you then, Felts. What did you make of the little thing they had with the bowler with the speeds and everything in the action? What
I was going to come on to that and go like, do you understand it, Jono? So I'll throw it back to you to start with. Like, what?
No,
I've got my opinions of it. But...
Felts, we'll stay in our lane. Now we're putting you in your one. Don't show off.
That's why you're here. Come on,
that's what you know.
All about it.
No, I think I sit on the fence. I'm going to be honest. Like, I think it's good for the casual viewer to see some of that biomechanical information. However, on the scientific side, I'm not sure how useful that is from a coaching perspective, if that makes sense. So I think because we know the research that Pete Worthington did that faster run-ups are related to faster ball speeds in a group of bowlers. It's great having run-up speed, but it's kind of meaningless unless there's some sort of individuality within there as well. So like when they show graphics of Woody running up in the ball speed, if talking about bandwidths, wouldn't it be great if we saw the bandwidths across a game or a spell so you can see his highest and lowest from there? And then the arm speed wrist flick thing, for the last couple of years, I've been a bit dubious of, because we know that ball speed is massively related to arm speed. They're almost like 95% correlated. So it's just, you're basically giving the same measure. And I think the interesting thing with the wrist speed is, as far as I can work out, they're taking arm speed away from ball speed and just giving you a number. Because if you look at the graphic really early on when it's slightly grayed out, the wrist speed number is like 100 kilometers an hour, which is nonsense. So, yeah, there is something in there. It's just, it's not.
You mean my wrist can't move that way by 100 miles an hour? Is that what you're saying?
They talk about it on TV as it's a contribution of the wrist to ball speed. But for it to be a contribution, you need the contribution across a period of time, and that number is given to you at release. So it's a single point in time. And the way I think they're calculating is they're taking arm speed, which I assume is the wrist joint center traveling towards the batter at the time of release. They're then taking the ball speed at release towards the batter and saying the wrist contribution's the bit in the middle, the difference. The problem with that is that if you've got longer hands, that difference physically will be different, because a very simple equation is when you rotate a stick, the further away you get from the point you're rotating it, the faster it will go, just because of physics and the lever length of the tangential velocity. So if you've got longer arms, your release speed will be higher than someone with shorter arms. So for me, when they're talking about Bumrah and Jofra having the highest contribution, have they just got the biggest hands or the longest hands? And
yeah.
So, and you can't really coach that, can you? So there's a lot more goes into arm speed. Like for me, the arm speed is like the one that's more interesting when they show the differences, because you can see that actually we know and can see there's technical differences between like a Woody or a Jofra, or they keep going back to Boomer as an example from last Australian summer. So
if it's accurate, or at least if it's consistent, you know, and we're now, so as bowling coaches, you know, the way you and I have worked when you did your simulation modelling for me, and you and I used to sit in a room with all of the guys that we got the information for the model. You'd run it through the model, it had come out with its the potential of where they could go. So that was where they were, that was where they'd go. And I would say to you, okay, so if we wanted to increase pace, what part of the sequence should we be looking to hit? And then how will we know that we're going the right way? So we were looking for a little bit of the information, weren't we, to guide us, so we weren't just going down a blind alley.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, if you have information like that, how as coaches can we then increase arm speed, which is, it's a little bit further down the chain, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, the numbers are accurate enough to use it from a coaching perspective. And then, I think you need more information about how that individual bowls and the different patterns and individuality. Like if I'm coaching a Jofra versus a Mark Wood, what I'm looking at and what we might intervene to increase arm speed could be quite different. And I saw Michael Vaughan, there was a comment from Michael Vaughan, maybe from last summer when Boomer was over there, and he said something about Boomer's got a slower run-up speed, so maybe momentum isn't as important as we previously thought, which I think probably tells half a story. And the latest paper that we wrote talked about you can generate momentum from your run-up or through your muscles during your delivery stride. Some players generate it from run-up speed, some generate it within their delivery stride. So those differences between run-up speed and endpoint ball release speed are quite interesting. I just think I think the wrist speed and arm speed kind of numbers need a little bit of thinking about how we use them and how relevant they are, and are we going down, getting ourselves into an alley where we're actually saying something which is not true about what the actual numbers are. And I think the other thing is, I don't actually know how they generate those numbers, because it's really difficult to find any information about it online.
I think as a punter, like without the science, I know that sounds a bit weird, but looking at it visually, it looks actually really good, doesn't it? Like if you're sitting there watching, I think it looks really good. I think like the batting one made me giggle at one point, because I think even Sir Alistair on comms was a bit like, what's gone on there? Because I think someone played a cut shot off the back foot, and at one point all his weight literally was on the back foot, his front foot was off the ground. Yeah, it was like 90% on his front foot or something. It's like,
okay.
I'm not sure that's
so there's been a lot of debate about that weight transfer one. And it's like you can't measure weight transfer without a force plate really properly.
Yeah.
But you can predict where the centre of mass is of a person and where it is relative to the base of support. So if they're saying it's basically where the position of the centre of mass is relevant to the bottom of the feet, you could be off the floor and have all your weight over your front foot or back foot. So again, I think that's the problem. And I love seeing it, because it actually, when I watch it, like I can watch it and analyse bowlers. I want to see those clips because it gives you some really good footage to look at. So I don't want to sit here and say it's terrible, get rid of it.
No, I think it looks really great. As I said,
what we need to be careful with is the message of what we're saying it says, and also the pundit's knowledge of it as well, because I think it's quite easy and quite quick to make a comment on comms where it's incorrect, but then thousands of kids or millions of people around the world are going, oh, right, that's what it means. Or the flip of what you said, John, I think a couple of people, like I think Finney said it, didn't he, that, well, the weight transfers on his back foot and he's off the floor, it's not possible correct. So, I think the terminology, and we've had this debate loads, Shiny, around how we use words to mean things, and trying to make things funky and sexy with different words to be unique can be quite confusing across coaches and across players at times. And I think the sooner we get to simplifying things so that everybody can understand it in the same sort of common language, I think the better.
So it's interesting, isn't it? So we know about run-up speed, but everyone, because effectively the arm speed and the wrist flick are two numbers that we haven't seen masses of. It's all everyone's talking about. So now, if you imagine your kids are watching, I've just got to increase my arm speed and my wrist flick. Well, yeah, okay. So how do you do that? That's the biggest question there, is how. But also remember, let's not go away from the fact that it's about, trying to hit that really small part on the pitch and get some movement as well. So you've got to make sure that it fits into your whole game. Once again, it's that when you profile your whole game, what are your strengths? What are the bits you can't afford to lose from your game? But also, then you're looking forward to, is it a meaningful speed increase that this would give me? And once again, as bowling coaches and scientists, we're actually trying to, there's that blend, isn't there? Can we keep them healthy? Yeah. Can we get them wickets? Can we keep the runs down? It's all of that blend that we're trying to get together when we're doing the work.
I think that's really important because we talk a lot about pace and we all love pace. We love seeing Woody run in bowl 95 miles an hour. It's amazing. It's exciting. It makes you want to watch. But you've still got to have that skill. You've still got to be able to hit that area consistently to make it that they're the best in the world, ultimately. So, yes, it's great being able to bowl quick, but if you're going at 8, 9 and over, you're not going to play a game. So you have to be able to bowl in good areas with that skill, but also increase your pace at the same time. So it has to be a balance.
Yeah, I think the thing Troy said in the episode that we've just released of around what's your job, I think is a really good point to come back to. And I use it on coach development now around, well, what is a fast bowler's job? Because a lot of them all come in and go, well, we just want to get them quicker. And we know all of this research and all this stuff on social media about pace. But actually, what's the job and actually what goes into staying fit, taking wickets and keeping the runs down? It isn't just bowling as fast as possible.
I've heard this phrase, he's an impact bowler. I've heard that so often. Well, to me, an impact bowler is not a bloke who runs out, bowls 90 miles an hour and goes at 8 and over. An impact bowler is a bloke that can run up and bowl 90 miles an hour, but it's on a spot, not going for runs. That's an impact. The impact is, well, I'm doing something for my team, not going for loads of runs, but I'm also competing and taking wickets at the same time. And actually best in the world. They're the blokes that compete year in, year out, and they're best in the world.
Cool. So I'm conscious of time, Jono, and you've got other places to run off to shortly. So should we look forward to Brisbane and the Gabbatoir? First thing first, I think it'd be just nice to touch on players have walked off at Perth, gone into the dressing room. How do you start to prepare for Brisbane with what's occurred in Perth and start to look forward and how you're going to get back to 1-1 in the series?
I think Stokesy sort of, he was shell-shocked, wasn't he? He said that, he's shell-shocked. But remember, Stokesy is a pretty level-headed guy when it comes to it, and they're really clear on their method. They've said that, haven't they? McCullum has said, look, we've got he called it a blueprint. We've got our blueprint. We're going to stick to it. I think I think they will. They have got to stick to their guns, and they have got to actually, go with what they do best and what they have been trying to build. They know, they're not stupid. They know it's about results. The Ashes is, it's the ultimate cricketing sort of gladiatorial event, isn't it? Where England and Australia both want to win, and they want to win well. They don't want to just win 2-1. They want to win 5-0. It's one of those things. So I think this team seem pretty cool. They'll be hurting, no doubt about it. They're very, very proud blokes. They're very, very proud. They've played some amazing cricket over the last few years. And I think that they will go and practice hard. They're obviously going to go to Brisbane. They want to practice on wickets that bounce. I think that's probably one area that they're definitely going to look to work on in the next few days. And remember, it was literally just 1 40-minute passage of play. Other than that, we were pretty much on top. And that's what everyone was saying.
I think that's what they're going to take. I mean, Baz and Stokes will be all over that. Yes, you'd walk into that change room, it would be deathly silent to start with, without a shadow of a doubt. And either Stokes or Baz would have stood up and gone, look, lads, we're in this game all the way through. Yeah. It's that 40 minutes. We put that bit right. We're 1-0 up in the series.
Absolutely.
And we're moving on. So let's not panic. Let's not, rip up everything. This is how we play. We'll go to Brisbane. We'll do the same thing and we'll win that game. And I think it'll be as simple as that.
I agree.
There'll be no panic. There'll be no, big review on what they should have done. They might look at the head situation, as I said earlier, about, if they get in that situation again, do they go to the short ball again? Do they devise a different plan around it? That would be the only thing I think they'll have a bit of chat around. The batters will go in their little groups. They'll go and work on what they need to work on. The bowlers will regroup, and they'll go again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought what Stokesy said was quite clever, to be fair. I think he kind of took the heat off of all of the questions straight away about blame and saying, hey, let's take a step back. And yeah, I think it'd be interesting. Like, I don't think we'll ever know, but I think those 40 minutes where it did turn, like for me watching it, kind of felt that they went a little bit against what they've been trying to do over the last couple of years, where they walked at Boland in the first innings and completely put the pressure back on him. And that 40 minutes, it just went away from, I think, what they've been trying to do. And I wonder if that'll be the reflection of actually we need to back ourselves
even more, double down even more,
stick to the blueprint that we've put in place.
I know one thing, there'll be more people getting up earlier to watch the next test after that test. I know it's a bit later this time, isn't it?
This time, much closer to my time.
You'll be.
We've picked the same bowling attack.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see any changes in the batting because I think that would be admitting defeat and in terms of what they decide to start with the plan. So I don't think we're going to see the team change at all.
We're not going to play We're not going to play a dog's dinner in the second test.
I don't think you can in a pink ball test, can you?
Move on.
I think there's more questions about the Aussie side. Do you drop Nathan Lyon to bring in Cummins?
Move on, folks. Move on.
Maybe.
So yeah. So are you bringing Cummins back if you're an Australian selector?
Have to. I mean, he's the best bowler.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if Cummins and Hazelwood were playing in that test match. I don't even want to think about that, but it would be quite interesting, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that there's actually more questions about what their team will be, and they won the game than England's team. Because I think you've also got the Khawaja situation with fitness. You've got Cummins potentially could play. You could potentially go in with Bo Webster and Cameron Green and they could have 6 bowlers. You could maybe not play the spinner. And he looked like he was suffering for some sort of knock at some point as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what side they pick as well. Cool. Right, I'm going to finish with a couple of 3 questions. I'm a Celebrity. The UK version's being filmed over on the Gold Coast in Brisbane. So you two know each other pretty well. So who'd last longer in the jungle out of you two?
Definitely me. Jono's the most
100%. I mean, it's not 5-star out there. I don't have a jacuzzi. I haven't got a comfy bed with my nice, goose pillows. I'd be out there quickly.
Jono is your typical, when he goes on holiday, he's got his lounger, his towel's down early, his beer is next to him. We're talking 9 o'clock in the morning. And it's a nice, steady stream coming in. There is no adventure in Jono. So I'm going to be honest with you, Phil, you've wasted your 3 questions.
Shiny be out there setting up traps. He'll be out there setting up traps for dinner, trying to get his food in. Don't worry, he'll have his campfire all set out. The only problem he'll have is he'll have his surfboard there, but there'll be no water. That'll be the only issue.
Yeah, and there won't be enough sun cream for me to put on, will there?
There definitely won't be enough sun cream.
Yeah, I think I've been on the phone to you a few times when you've been out chopping wood with your AirPods in before. So I'm guessing these are probably going to be very similar, but who handles a bush tucker trial better?
Me. But if it's the curry, John will do it. He loves his hot chilies. He'll do that.
I'm not sure the eating one you'd be great at.
Yeah, to be fair, you'll do the eating.
I'll give you the water. You can have that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to skip the third one because I think it's going to be shiny again. So I'm going to change it slightly and go, from your careers, who's the one person or jungle campmate you'd take with you?
I'd take Jono purely for the absolute comedy that I would get there.
And I'd have to take Shiny because he could support me and help me get through, right? I mean, that's the way it is, isn't it? He could cook my meals for me, go hunting, and be perfect.
You'd have the entertainment in the evening, and I'd just keep us alive.
Cool. Cheers, lads. It's been a pleasure as always, and look forward to catching up with you about the Brisbane test on the other side.
Cheers, guys.
Bye then, boys. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Science and Shiny podcast, brought to you by Fast Bowlers Limited. If you enjoyed the episode, please follow the show, share it with others, and leave a review. It really helps us grow. You can also watch a full video episodes on YouTube and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for more clips and updates. We'll see you in the next episode.